Question I often get asked is, what do I need to do to become a property developer? So before I answer that question, let's just define what we consider to be a property developer, because it's got a very wide spectrum. So at one end of the spectrum, we've got what we would call the refurb market. In other words, somebody buys a house, depending on which part of the country. This could be as low as a few thousand, tens of thousands of pounds, 50, 60,000 pounds, up to maybe several £100,000. So it requires a fairly small budget. It's usually a house that's in need of renovation, new kitchen, new bathroom, painting up the walls, tarting it up a little bit, maybe doing a little landscaping on the outside just to give it a fresh look, hopefully increasing the value. Very, very difficult market, incidentally, although because it's a very crowded market. A lot of property trainers really promote at this end, telling you it's easy. It is easy in terms of the mechanics of it. Actually finding those properties is very, very difficult because there are so many people chasing after them. So that's at one end. Potentially you're talking about the profit being in the tens of thousands if you get it right, and that's a big if sometimes. So tens of thousands, maybe 20, 30, 40,000, right up to then, if we look at the other end of the spectrum, major developers doing large projects, particularly if that's in London, doing multi-million pound, hundreds of million pound projects, doing and producing, phenomenal profits. Again, high risk, a lot of moving parts in that. And certainly probably, if you're looking at this YouTube channel, not something that you're going to be interested in. So we bring it down to sort of like more in the middle. We're looking at people who want to get into ground up property development, in other words, building out of the ground. So with that completely puts it in a different category from the renovation type of property development, because there's a lot more risks involved in there. But you're not going to be at the high end because that is just too complex if you're just starting out. So typically you're going to be looking to build between 1 and 9 houses. In Scotland, probably 1 and 5 houses, and the reason for that is once you trip over 5 in Scotland and over 9 in England, then England and Wales and Northern Ireland, you get into having to provide social housing, which then adds an additional complexity in terms of land values, how you apportion that and apportion the profit so as that you are producing the appropriate amount of profit. So in a development, we recommend that if you take a project that has full planning permission in place, which is going to be a rarity in all honesty, because it's very difficult to find land that stacks up at that level. But if you find land, then you want to be making 25% of gross development value. Gross development value being the total value that developed site is going to sell out for. So if you build 9 houses on it, those 9 houses, let's say they're £400,000 houses each, that would be 9 times 400,000, and that would be your gross development value. So you want to be making 25% of that. So typically within this sort of range, what you are looking at if like at one house, typically you're going to be making a profit of between 100,000 and 2 million, just depending on what the values are in your area. In addition to that, you should be then, because we recommend that you look for sites off market, you should be making a land uplift profit. That's what you're doing, is you're taking a piece of raw land, you're increasing the value for the landowner up to the build price that you would, in other words, the price you would sell it for if you were just selling it on without actually building it out to a developer, so that they can make the 25% of gross development value. So you'd be taking that profit that takes it from that raw piece of land up to that new valuation, and then you're sharing that profit with the existing landowner. You've done all the legwork, taken the risk, and so you're giving them some of that profit, but you should also be taking some of that profit. So that's what we define as a property developer. So what skills do you need for that? Well, first of all, you need money. Property development consumes a lot of money. You can get started technically for a small amount of money. One of the ways that you could do that is that you could really get into sourcing land and then selling that land. But what you're really looking to do is then, through that process, without building it out, is building up a nest egg of capital so that you can really get seriously into property development. So you do want to have capital, and in the very early stages, you need to have capital enough to take a site through the planning process. So you're probably looking to have a capital, at least in order to do that process, of somewhere between 10 and 20,000. If you wanted to build out the site, then, and again, it will depend on the values in your area, you're going to want considerably more of that. You're probably talking about hundreds or hundreds of thousands of pounds that you want to have in order to be able to do that. So first of all, it takes cash. And of course, it doesn't necessarily always have to be your own cash. Because even if you've got a pile of cash sitting there, there will be a time when you will run out of cash, and therefore you need investors. You will need commercial loan facilities. So there is a bit of complexity around that, but nevertheless, it is doable. But the cash is a central component. Second thing is you need to be organized, and I can't emphasize that enough. So a lot of people come to development and they already have some of these skills because they got organization skills. So if you're a manager, you are used to managing people and processes. So that's a very useful skill to have. If you are one of the professions around the property development business, like an architect, a town planning consultant, quantity surveyor, structural engineer, those sort of things, then again you are used to processes and you're used to being organized. So that's very good. If you are a tradesperson, you're used to being able to organize yourself for that particular trade. So for instance, say you're an electrician, you have to have your materials organized, you have to schedule your own timing, you have to fit in the time to do estimates for work as well. So you have to organize yourself. So by virtue of that, you are an organized person. You have your own business, you're used to organizing people and processes as well. So you need to be somebody who can organize themselves, or at least learn how to be organized. So that's a really important component, and what you really should do as a first step is just write down the life skills that you already have, because that's really important. So if we ever have a conversation, I'll be asking you those questions if you're wanting to join one of our programs, because I want to know that you are somebody who can execute what needs to be executed. We can provide you with all the tools to do this, the spreadsheets, all the templates, all the training, but you need to be able to implement it. So we want to make sure that you are a person who can implement that training, because the training is absolutely useless unless you go through implementation. The third thing, and it's fairly obvious, is you need a deal. So a lot of people get hung up about the cash amount first, and as I mentioned before, it's very important that you have the cash, but actually it's really about the deal. So particularly if you're looking for a private investor, or even a commercial investor, so a commercial lending facility, you've got to have a deal to be able to show them before they can even give you any indication of whether they would be willing to lend you money on the process. So finding the deal is absolute paramount. And a lot of people I speak to say, yeah, I'm not kind of ready for this. I want to start in 6 months' time. Well, the problem is it can take you 6 months to find that deal. So you really need to start. And it doesn't take an awful lot of time. We generally reckon that you should spend about 10 hours a week in this process. But theoretically, even if you spent 2 hours a week on this process, it's better than spending no hours a week. And what you will find is that if you spend 2 hours a week, magically, almost, you will find those additional hours. Because when we want something badly enough and we start to see ourselves making some progress, then we will do that. So similarly, if somebody wants to enter into an exercise regime, going to the gym 3 times a week may seem an onerous task. If they just go out for a walk for 10 minutes every day, then they will start to build that momentum. So building momentum is the most important thing. So you've heard me talk about that we do training. So if it interests you in having a conversation about this, whether this would be a good fit for you, then you should simply book a discovery call. Just to give you an idea, because we're very transparent, you can go to our website and you will find the pricing for our different programs. But our most successful students spend about $12,600 a year with us, and you can get started for £2.80. So there are various programs. We have a 4-hour event that we hold once a month, and you can go to propertydevelopmentuk.com in order to access it. This is the page here. You can book it. We do take a deposit of £99, which is fully refundable. This is just to ensure that people actually turn up, as opposed to just booking and then failing to turn up, because these places are valuable. This incidentally is a real training. It's not a sales presentation. Yes, we would spend about 10 minutes talking to you about what the next steps would be if you want to work with us, but this is a genuine presentation which gives you some good knowledge. It is 4 hours long, so we talk fundamentally about finding land and also about funding your details. So you can find the full details here on the website. And then if we go over to Property Developers Mastery, this is our premier program. We have 2 levels of this, and we have here, so if I just go down, we have the complete process. Within this program, there's over 50 hours of training. There's a 3-day in-person event, and additionally there's a 1-day in-person event as well. And so therefore we have this, and again the pricing is there on the website. So if this interests you, then go to propertydevelopmentuk.com, sign up for our 4-hour training, and then we will give you that training, and then you can decide further on if you want to continue the journey with us. Hope you found this useful. If you have, please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber of this channel, and give this video a like. Really would appreciate it. It helps us no end grow the channel. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I wish you all the best, and until the next time, take care.